Hello, good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Chris Conway. I'm the newly appointed director of the J. Phillips Center for Interfaith Learning. Thank you. I am so grateful for you all to be here today on a beautiful and busy Tuesday afternoon to hear our presenter, Father Yann Vagneux, and his presentation, Dialogue Thrives on Friendship. Before we move on to some introductions and to some thank yous, I'd like to begin first with our land acknowledgement composed by our Indigenous Student Association. Both the College of St. Benedict and St. John's University occupy the original homelands of the Dakota and Anishinaabe peoples. We honor, respect, and acknowledge the Indigenous peoples forcibly removed from this territory whose connection remains today. St. Benedict's Monastery and St. John's Abbey previously operated boarding schools for Native children. Now students, faculty, and staff are working to repair relationships with our Native nation neighbors. I'd like to offer thanks of gratitude to Media and Technology Services who have us set up, mic'd up, and recording for those who will be watching later. An event like this has a lot of moving parts to it, and so I'd like to thank Catherine Rupp for helping with the logistics of this event and the promotion of the event. And lastly, I'd like to thank Professor Ted Ulrich, Professor of Religious Studies at St. Thomas University and also alum of the School of Theology. He's been instrumental in bringing Father Yann to Minnesota and to Collegeville. So Ted, thank you very much for that. Father Yann Vagneux is a Catholic priest and member of the Foreign Missions Society. He completed his studies in Paris, Rome, and New York, culminating in his doctoral dissertation, Co-esse, the Trinitarian Mystery and the Thought of Jules Monchanin. He first visited India in 1997, and since 2010 has resided in the multi-religious city of Varanasi. Deep friendships unite him to the traditional world of Brahmin Pandits, with whom he continues his Sanskrit studies and engages in fruitful interreligious dialogue. Since 2002, he is the co-director of Maitri Bhavan, the Center for Interreligious Dialogue of the Catholic Diocese of Varanasi. His first book published in English, A Priest in Benares, and I think our Father William Scholaric here at St. John's Abbey had a hand in bringing that into English translation, recounts his early years on the banks of the Ganges. His second book, Indian Portraits, 8 Christian Encounters with Hinduism, is a token of gratitude towards those who have sculpted his spiritual bond with Hinduism. His new book in French, and soon to be in English, we hope, an emulation of sanctity, Hinduism, and Christianity in dialogue, is a theological reflection at the crossroads of 2 spiritual traditions in which he dwells. This afternoon, Father Yann will provide a presentation, followed by some questions from me, and then some questions from you. In the spirit of Benedictine hospitality and listening with the ear of our heart, I'd encourage you to be thinking about a question you might like to ask, and then when the time arrives, to ask it. Please join me in welcoming Father Yann.
Good evening, and to quote Swami Vivekananda when he came in Chicago in 1893, I would say, good evening, brothers and sisters of America. It's very moving for me to be here among you for many reasons. First, to be in such a monastic atmosphere. When I was a child in France, was dreaming to be a monk, but I have been diverted from that vocation, apparently. I'm very happy to be here in St. John Abbey's. I've been linked, as Chris told you, with William Skluderek since 10 years. He has been very supportive of our lives and mission in Varanasi. The secondary joy of my joy to me among you is to have the honor to participate to this first event here of the J. Phillips Center, promoting dialogue, understanding, friendship, and civic engagement. In reading that, I feel totally at home, as you will understand immediately. And the third cause of joy is to be among so many students. I was almost your age, 21, when I left France to go to India for the first time, for 3 years in India, in the slums of Chennai in South India. So your youth brought me to the very beginnings of my love story with India. A love story which has not been broken, because after this first experience of 3 years, 1997 till 2000, the church has sent me again to India, to Varanasi, where I have been living since 2010. So before engaging in a conversation with Chris, I was thinking it would be nice maybe to fix our imagination on some photos and to tell you very briefly a few things about those last 10 years in Varanasi. As many of you know, Varanasi is the iconic city of India. Some say it is a religious capital of India, but there are many religious cities of India. But Varanasi, it is a story of 3,500 years of prayers, of rituals, of pilgrimage, 3,500 years. We find Varanasi called Kashi in the Veda, the city of light. There is a very famous scholar that you have in the States, Diana Eck, from Harvard University. She did her dissertation on Varanasi. She has lived herself in Varanasi in 1965. It is called Varanasi, the city of light. That is the meaning of Kashi, the name of Varanasi in the Vedas. So this great city where every day thousands and thousands pilgrims come to bath in the Ganges. They bath in the Ganges to be purified and to be able after to go to the main temple of Shiva, the great deity of Varanasi, to receive his darshan, his manifestation, to enter in the presence of Shiva. But for that, they need to bath before. And it is in this very city that we can, for those among you who are from the Catholic traditions, we could call Varanasi the Vatican of the Hindus. It is also in that city that the Catholic people have been present at the beginning. Because when I will speak of Varanasi, so the city is in the north of India, between Delhi and Calcutta. It's a small city for India, 2 million people. And when I will be speaking now of Varanasi, I will be speaking of the sacred area of Varanasi. We call the Ghats. The Ghats means the staircase which are going down to the river, to the Ganges. The staircase used by the pilgrims when they go to bath in the Ganges. And so in this sacred area of Varanasi, the Catholic Church have been present since 1952. Those sisters, Catholic nuns, belonging to the tradition of Charles de Foucauld. He was a French priest who has been living with the Muslims in the Sahara Desert. They have been the first to enter the sacred area of Varanasi through friendship and through prayer. At the beginning, they were maybe suspected by their neighbor to be here to do conversion, but they were here to engage in a covenant of friendships and to give a testimony of prayers among those who pray, because the sacred area of Varanasi along the Ganges is like a cloister, like an abbey, as we are close to an abbey, a cloister of prayers. After those women, Mother Teresa came in the sacred area of Varanasi, and they have a shelter, and they give shelter to those who are abandoned, dropped in the streets of Varanasi, mostly people mentally challenged. So since 1971, the Sisters of Mother Teresa has been giving this Christian witness in silence, a witness of charity. And we have a sister, at least we have a sister among us, maybe other sisters are here. I always said, to enter in such an area, because imagine some Muslims coming at the door of the Vatican saying, we want a place to worship, to pray Allah, and we want a place also to enter in friendship with you. I don't know how the Vatican will react with those Muslims, but our Hindu friends have given us this place to worship our God and to enter in friendship with them. And I always said that it was needed to be a woman to have this feminine grace to enter with a lot of respect. I don't know if we say that in English, but in French we say, sometimes we are elephant in a Chinese. Yes. So with the men, maybe we are. So it's beautiful that the women enter first in this area. So the third congregation, I am with them, of sisters. They have also a small, we call that an ashram, a small place of prayer, of friendship, with a small dispensary where they give medicine. But more than the medicine, the people come here to speak about their life, to share their secrets with the sisters. After those sisters came also some priests. Raimondo Panikkar is one of the great names of the interreligious dialogue in the 20th century. He has been living 10 years in Varanasi, recovering his own roots, because from his father, he was an Indian and Hindu from his father, and his mother was a Catholic from Catalonia in Spain. After him, another priest has been living, many Catholic priests in Varanasi, but I speak of this sacred area of the Ghats along the Ganges. Giorgio Bonazzoli was an Italian priest. He has been living 15 years. His memory is still kept preciously in Varanasi. He was working as a librarian of the Maharaja, the king of Varanasi. And after a gap of 25 years without any priest, living with the sisters, engaging in this, I would say, ministry of witness, of silent witness, of friendship, of building bridges, especially with our Hindu brothers and sisters who in the sacred area of Varanasi, they are mostly the priests, the Brahmin priests, the scholars of Hinduism. So after 25 years, the bishop of Varanasi asked me, I was a young priest at that time, to come to settle in this sacred area and to make a covenant. I belong to a missionary society, even though I never use this word missionary in India, because for Hindus that is a very, very problematic word. But in the spirituality of the missionaries, that there is this mystic of making a wedding with the people, a covenant, a deep covenant. Here you have a Hindu wedding, so it is what I have been called to live with those Hindu people of Varanasi, and not only Hindu, as you will see. I have written a book which has been published, and it's available also on e-book, called A Priest in Benares. Not only the story of my first years in Varanasi, but the story of those Christians who have come to live in the most sacred place of Hinduism. I would like to say a few things. Maybe we'll come back in our conversation with Chris about those who have inspired my way. There are many. I have just taken for me the most important. Jules Monchanin was a French priest, a great scholar in France, and at the age of 44 in 1939, he left all his position in France, and he came in India. He became one of the pioneers of the dialogue between Christianity and Hinduism. I have made my doctoral dissertation on him, and with another priest who was a Benedictine monk, as our Benedictine monk here in St. John, Henri Le Saux, known in India as Swami Abhishiktananda. Both of them have founded an ashram, a small hermitage, which was a place to also give witness in a very intense Hindu atmosphere, to give witness that we Christians also, we are contemplative, we are praying, we have a mystical tradition. Because for many Hindus, they know of Christianity our schools are very famous, run by the Jesuits. They know our institution of charity, Mother Teresa, but they would never imagine that we have monks, that we have hermits, that we have mystics. So that was the idea of Monchanin and Abhishiktananda to give this witness. I was trained when I came at the age of 21 in Chennai. I was trained by a Jesuit, Pierre Serac, who has been himself trained and he received a trained by Jules Monchanin. So Jules Monchanin, on whom I made my dissertation, doctoral dissertation, Pierre Serac was for me and has transmitted me this spiritual heritage received from Monchanin and Abhishiktananda. And I belong also to a missionary society, the Foreign Missions of Paris, created in France 360 years ago. We are priests living in Asia, in one country, some in China, some in Japan, some in Thailand. And we are sent for life. And here you can see my colleague, Father Lucien Legrand, is 98 years old. He's still in Bangalore teaching Bible, Holy Scripture Bible in the seminary, St. Peter's Seminary of Bangalore, writing books, walking 2 hours per day. So 98, that's giving a lot of hope. I hope to reach such a venerable age. And I had the great fortune to be trained and to receive this great heritage, spiritual and missionary heritage from my elders. I have given, I made a homage to all those sources of inspiration in another book, Indian Portraits, which is also available in English. Now I would like to come back to Varanasi and to tell you, 3 different things. The first thing, as already I started to say, that my first years in Varanasi was to enter in a new world, to learn a new language and different language. I knew Tamil from my first experience in South India, but I had to learn Hindi, Sanskrit, and after Urdu and Nepali in Varanasi. So the beginnings are very humble. You are like a baby. You have to learn everything from zero. And the desire of the Bishop of Varanasi, what he has given me was kind of wild card, but he said, Yann, I would like you to really make bridges with our Pandits. The Pandits is a name we give to the Brahmins, who are the sacerdotal caste. It's not the richest caste, but the highest caste in India. So the Pandits are the learned people, those who come in, especially in Varanasi, to learn the Vedas. They come at the age of 11, 12 years old. They start because their memory is still very, very powerful, so they learn by heart a part of those Vedas, who are the great liturgical text of Hinduism. They don't know the meaning of what they learn by heart, like the Muslim with the Quran. They don't know Arabic. So first they spend 3 years to learn the Vedas, and after they learn Sanskrit, they learn this incredible language with a very frightening grammar at the beginning, and then slowly they enter into their philosophical tradition. And I had the great fortune to also imagine, when the foreigners who come to Varanasi are mostly tourists, but when the foreigners remain and they see him day after day walking along the Ganges, they became curious. And one day they came to knock at my door, who are you? We have been seeing you. And like that, the friendship started, but very, very in great humility, step by step. But along the years, they have totally adopted me. They know I'm a Catholic priest. They know I'm coming from abroad. They know I have done my PhD in the Varanasi of the West, which is Rome, because I think Rome is the sacred city of the West, which is also true. But also they have seen that I was learning their language. I was learning Sanskrit and entering into the text. Here you have you can see the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and they were trusting me. And slowly those great friendships have come. I have received so much from them. They have helped me to enter into their tradition, not only intellectually, but I would say existentially. Not only intellectually, because maybe to enter in the tradition of Hinduism intellectually, it's better to remain here in the States. You have wonderful libraries. But you need, if you want to make a step further, you need to come in those busy, dirty, hot cities of India, and yes, and with the hope to have the grace to be adopted by them. Chris was mentioning this book, the last book, An Emulation of Sanctity, Hinduism and Christianity in Dialogue. It's a book, 5 studies of Hinduism with the echoes. It's a conversation with the great themes and the tradition of Hinduism and the echoes made in the heart of a Christian. So that was the last book, but this book has been really made possible by all this long dialogue of friendship, of understanding, and letting them slowly to reveal me their tradition. I went into the church of the Abbey. We have beautiful stained glasses. To see the beauty of the stained glasses, you have to be inside. From outside, it's difficult to have an idea of the stained glasses from outside. You have to enter inside. And that is the same. To understand a religion like the stained glasses, you have to go inside. And I don't say, and maybe we'll come back on that I had to lose my faith, and I have remained a Catholic priest, and I always say that all those friends have made me more Catholic in such a way. But they have also given me the grace to enter inside the sanctuary and to see the beauty of their tradition as we see the beauty of the stained glasses from inside. Varanasi, it's a holy city for the Hindus, 3,500 years, unceasingly coming in Varanasi, learning the Vedas in Varanasi. The great sages of India have all come to Varanasi. But also after his enlightenment, 500 before Christ, Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha, the enlightened. He was enlightened under a tree in Bodh Gaya. And after that, he came back to Varanasi to preach his great sermon. It's a sermon of the suffering, but we have to explain what is the meaning of suffering here. But the first sermon and the birth of the Buddhism as a community of believers was in Varanasi. And Varanasi is a city also very holy for the Jains. The Jains, it's a religion very austere, very monastic. The fulfillment of this religion is to become a monk, and you have families of people, they are generally very rich. They are a huge minority in India, 1.4% of the population of India, but they are generally very rich and very successful with MBAs from New York and so on. But you will see a family, suddenly the fathers, the mothers, the children, they enter into the monastic life. And they became those wanderers, And so for them also, Varanasi, for the Tirthankaras, their spiritual gurus at the beginning of their traditions, 3 of them were born in Varanasi. And Varanasi, it's a very holy city also for Muslims. 35% of the cities of Varanasi they are Muslims, It's full of dargahs, the tombs of the Sufi masters. And Varanasi is also a city holy for Sikh. We have 2 great gurudwaras, the place of worship for the Sikh tradition, born in the 15th century, also influenced by a great mystic of Varanasi called Kabir. The Guru Nanak, the founder of the Sikh tradition, was influenced by Kabir of Varanasi. And as I told you, since 1930, we have also the Christians, the Catholics, and the Protestant. Both traditions are in Varanasi. Varanasi belongs to the north of India, which the deepest of the culture, the deep culture of North India we call the Ganga Yamuna Tazib. It's an Urdu word. The Tazib, the culture between the 2 rivers, the 2 great rivers, the Ganga and the Yamuna. And it's a culture of meeting, of encounters, because the Muslims, and especially you can remind maybe the Mughals and the Taj Mahal. So the Muslims have made a lot of roots in North India. And the 2 religions have met, and there was a meeting of culture. But also it's a story of a brokenness in the memory of the religions, and a brokenness which is revived unceasingly by the Hindu nationalists or Hindu fundamentalists who are in the power today. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, has been elected since 2010, so for 3 times now he has been elected on the seat of Varanasi. And their agenda is to polarize this culture of encounter. Maybe we'll come back on that question. And so it is in this city both of encounters and of clashes, of polarization, of riots, violent riots, bloody riots, that we, the Catholic Church, we have been living. First, in friendship. That is the essential part of some of us in the small church of Varanasi, 3,000 believers in Varanasi. Some of us are engaged in this interreligious dialogue with the Muslims, the Hindus, here the Jains, from the tradition of Digambaras, the naked monk, with the Buddhist. And all those friendship, and after 10 years in this, 8 years in the city, having woven with great patience those friendships, have been being adopted by them. So many doors have been opened. The Bishop of Varanasi asked me to revive. We have one center called Maitri Bhavan, the House of Friendship. And in Maitri Bhavan is a center of interreligious dialogue, where every month we conduct some interreligious meetings. So we are, of course, deeply influenced as Catholic by the Mahatma Gandhi. This Mahatma, in 1921, was writing, "I do not want my house to be walled in on all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the culture of all the lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible." This Mahatma was given his life, was died for the reconciliation of Muslims and Hindus in his country. He's a great source of, for us, this Hindu. Mahatma is a great source of inspiration. So every month now, in this center, Maitri Bhavan, the House of Friendship, we conduct those meetings with Hindu, Muslims, Jain, Christian, Buddhist. We ask a panel of people of different faiths to discuss on a certain theme and to engage a conversation with those who are coming as you have come today. Those who are coming, many of them are students from the Hindu University. That was our last meeting I organized in March. I asked the woman, I said, in this meeting, men are welcome as usual, but men will be sitting and listening in silence, because we are also in a machist society, So I asked the women to speak and to share on the theme Women and Religion. So from left to right, Munisa Khan, she's a Muslim social worker. Then Palmo, she's a Buddhist nun with a PhD, one of the first who got a PhD. Then you have a Catholic nun. Then after my friend Umesh from the Kabir tradition, you have Alka Singh, she's Hindu, the principal of a very renowned college for girls in Varanasi. And then Mogbel, who is from the Baha'i tradition. Baha'i is a tradition coming from Iran. And we have also in Maitri Bhavan the grace to have the visit of great scholars. Here maybe some of you have recognized Frank Looney of Boston College and Harvard. He came to visit us. It was a great blessing for us. So yes, a place of friendship, a place of dialogue. And we are also organizing 2 great events, and here I would like to insist on the civic engagement in the city. In this city of Varanasi, so rich, so diverse in many traditions, religious traditions, but also so battling with the division and the poison spread by the politicians, the polarization. It's very important for us, Christians, to continue on this way of dialogue, of building the bridges. And twice a year at the house of the Bishop of Varanasi, Catholic Bishop, we organize a great event. This one is on 23rd December. Every year on 23rd December, we celebrate with all our friends, Hindu, Muslims, Jains, Buddhists, we celebrate the birth of the Prince of Peace. Here you have from left to right, the great Mufti of Varanasi. Hindu, the high priest of the Hanuman, the temple of Hanuman, the Mahant, we call the Mahant the great priest of Varanasi, the bishop of Varanasi. Here you have on the left my friend Keshav Dev with a very orthodox Pandit, Hindu Brahmin, with a brother of the Mufti of Benares, and we are all sitting together. And our friend said, in this, because we live that also in a very tragic time. I mean, the last month we were engaged in the elections in India and the polarization, that's climax of polarization. And our friend said, you, the Catholics, you are the only one in the city to be able to gather us. But we, with the Christian tradition, the last pages of the Bibles, the image of a city, the heavenly Jerusalem with the doors open, and every people from every tribe, every nation coming and living this deep communion, enriching each other by their own treasures, So that is our ideal, that is our goal, and we try to live that in Varanasi. A second time in the Bishop House during the month of Ramzan, the month of fasting for the Muslims, the Bishop organized an iftar, a ceremony of the breaking of the fast. And you see the bishop in the middle, Bishop Eugene. And we invite our Muslim friends, but also Hindus and Sikh, Jain, they come. And this year it was very important to do that in the month of March because there is a mosque in Varanasi. And in the agenda of the Hindu nationalists in the power, they wanted to destroy the mosque before the election to polarize the atmosphere. Here you have the Bishop of Varanasi with the great Mufti, and you have the Bishop of Varanasi with the Shankaracharya of Jyotirpit. Shankaracharya is one of the highest leaders of Hinduism. A few words again on Maitri Bhavan. It's a place of meeting. It's a place also where I welcome twice a year some young Indians preparing to become Catholic priests, and I teach them, and with my friend Keshav, you see in the middle, we teach them the Hindu scriptures. We give them a possibility to enter in the Hindu scriptures. And recently, the Hindu University of Varanasi, the Department of Philosophy, they're all Hindus, they said, Yann, can you come to speak to us on the mystery of Trinity, the very heart of the Christian faith? So I was very happy of that. And I always smile at the fact that I am teaching Hindu scripture to the Christian and Catholic theology to the Hindus. So it is like that we try to serve the beauty of Varanasi. Just to end, I would also to say that all those years have given me access to the missionaries before they were looking for a terra incognita. And their dream was to go in Tibet because they were saying in their words, the cross of Christ has not reached Tibet. So the missionaries were always looking for places untouched. And I would say for me, the terra incognita has been to reach to the top leaders of Hinduism, to those, into bracket, to the popes of Hinduism along the years. I have developed a beautiful friendship with one of those popes, the Shankaracharya of Jyotirpit, Swami Abhishiktananda. Through him, I could visit the all great leaders of Hinduism. And that has been a great blessing because none of them had contact with the Christians. And when we don't meet, we'll come back on that afterwards in the conversation. When we don't meet, we start to have prejudices. Oh, the Christians are here to make forced conversion, to destroy our culture. And from those prejudices comes the hatred. Our heart is filled with the poison of hatred, and then violence. And after wars come like that. Here you have Anantanand Rambachan, the great gift of friendship. He has come in Varanasi, and I came also in Minneapolis to spend days with him, this Hindu theologian, a wonderful man, very courageous in his tradition. He has built so many bridges. If I am also carrying on this work of diplomacy with the top leaders of Hinduism, that is because we are waiting the Pope. I mean, maybe the Pope will come at the end of this year in India, and there is a desire to have for the first time a meeting of the Pope with the top leaders of Hinduism. And all this life, yes, has been a great spiritual adventure with these great people they have helped me to, on this spiritual journey, they have helped me, we have been co-pilgrims on this way here, pilgrims going to the source of the Ganges, and living in this great city of Varanasi, noisy also. I need to come back often to the silence of an hermitage, what I do quite regularly, because we are engaging not only at that level, intellectual. It's quite easy, I mean, to be at the intellectual level, but we try to go to a deeper level. Thank you. I hope those pictures will have given you a first idea.
Father Yann, thank you for providing a kind of lineage for those who've gone before you doing this work of interreligious dialogue in India and whose footsteps that you follow. Thanks for showing us the beautiful pictures of Varanasi, this vibrant city of religious dynamism and pluralism. And thank you also for that evocative image of the Abbey Church and the call to go inside in order to appreciate the beauty of things. I have a few questions for Father Yann. We'll have a conversation back and forth, and then the hope is that you all too will have questions for Father Yann. And so I encourage you again to be thinking of those questions and then be moved to share them with the audience. So in your book, Indian Portraits, 8 Christians' Encounters with Hinduism, you provide these really wonderful profiles of folks from different backgrounds coming to India and having these transformative encounters with Hinduism. I'm hoping that you could say a little bit more maybe about one of the figures who's been especially influential in your own spiritual development and doing this interreligious work.
Yes, in 1997, my first coming to India was preceded by the discovery of one of those great inspiration for me. Maybe you remember there was a picture of a Benedictine monk, Henri Le Saux, Swami Abhishiktananda. He had very long hairs like that. That's one of the last pictures we had of him before his death in 1973. He was a monk from Brittany, and then he left his very traditionalist monastery, I would say also quite narrow-minded monastery, and he left, he had felt this call, all those people felt a mysterious call to go to India, and he joined this other French priest, Jules Monchanin, and they have lived 7 years together. Monchanin died at the age of 63 in 1957, and then, Abhishiktananda, coming from a very narrow-minded, monastery, French monastery, and discovering India, and he was fascinated, he was, and with great generosity, with great openness, he has entered into his new people. But it was a journey for him, and it has been very painful, because he would have never imagined, for him, the only truth was in the Catholic Church, and the rest of the believers, they were all, worshipping idols. But suddenly he was overwhelmed by the power of prayer, and he slowly he has entered, he has tried to understand. That was very difficult also for him, and maybe some people in the Catholic Church say, oh, Abhishiktananda has gone too far. But anyhow, he has opened a way with Monchanin, but Abhishiktananda has been so courageous, maybe sometimes I say, in the Catholic Church, we have forgotten that we are, at the very beginning, a religion of adventurers, We are not meant to remain in closed world, make our comfort, and with high walls. We are meant to go on the roads of the world, That was the very beginning of the church. And Abhishiktananda had this courage, and for me, so I mean, his life, he has been also helping a lot the Church of India to open herself to the treasure of Hinduism. He has been a source of inspiration for many. A great mystic also. He has left us wonderful books, and yes, he has been a bridge. And in France, we have the Cathedral of Chartres near Paris, a beautiful Gothic cathedral. And there was in the Middle Ages a school of theologians in Chartres. And Bernard of Chartres had this image saying, we are like dwarfs, dwarves, seated on the shoulder of giants. We can see further, not because we are greater than those giants, but because we are carried on by them. And so, Abhishiktananda, yes, I see his limitations. His life is unique. But he has, since the beginning of my arrival in India, he has helped me to see the beauty of India, to open my eyes on the treasures of Hinduism, He has shown me a way, especially of, because I was saying this dialogue, this meeting is not only at this level, but at the meeting of the art, His spiritual diary, which has been published partially as a beautiful title, The Ascent to the Depth of the Art, And yes, for that, he's a great model. He's a great model for me. I won't repeat his life, it's not possible. but it's a source of inspiration, yes.
Thank you for that presentation on Abhishiktananda. When I think about my own interreligious work, having these courageous pioneers who come before us, if theology is about the kinds of questions we ask, it's helpful to have folks who are asking those kinds of questions already to know that we're on the right trajectory. And clearly Abhishiktananda is one of these courageous pioneers going forth.
Exactly, yes.
When it comes to my interreligious work, one of the things that I think I'm most appreciative about it is that it's not only an opportunity to learn about other religious traditions, but it's to learn from and with them. And it's clear from your work you have these deep friendships with Hindus, Muslims, and Buddhists. And I'm wondering if you could say a little bit more about how these friendships, these conversations, these dialogues that you have formed you as a theologian, has formed your vocation as a Catholic priest?
So first of all, every friendship is a grace, It's like also the love stories, Something he has appeared in my life, the friend, he or she, has appeared in my life, and maybe at the beginning I was not realizing, but after 10 years when I just turned back, I said, the day he has appeared in my life has been such a blessed day and a source of blessing. And the friendship is so precious, so fragile also, so challenging, because we are like two instruments, we need to be tuned together. And we have also to accept there are times we are maybe in dissent, and maybe I will be disappointed by my friend. They will say, or maybe all the prejudices when you are entering into religious friendship, maybe they will say, oh yeah, okay, I was thinking Yann was was nice priest, Catholic, open, but finally, no, he's like the other one, Yeah, he's here, to make proselytism, and so that's also the challenge of friendship. But maybe you have heard of Matteo Ricci as the great Jesuit in China. He has written a book on friendship, and because it is through friendship that we can enter into the world of the other, into the religion, the culture of the other, to be led into those gateways slowly to the sanctuary, I remember with Keshav is very orthodox Pandit, Brahmin Pandits who was with me. I show the photo we were teaching those Catholic seminarians. I remember a pilgrimage to the source of the Ganges with Keshav. And we always remember, because that has been a great time of our friendship. That was in 2015, almost 10 years. We went together. We are sharing the same room. We are in India. And, but both of us also, we have to perform the rituals. So I was celebrating Mass in the morning. He was doing his karmakand, and each of us was looking like that above the shoulder of the other to see how we are doing. But that has been great time, great sharings, you know, I mean. And it is like that they have introduced me. And then, yes, a transformation, first of all, a widening of the heart. You know, I have, through those friends, I have discovered worlds that I would have never imagined. I grew up in a French town, you know, among Catholics. I never heard, they were Muslims, but I never had contact with Muslims in my childhood. I became a Catholic priest in 2008 without having any classes on Islam, on Buddhism, on Hinduism. I said, now, such a narrow world. It's not fitting this great world, you know. I mean, those days, again, the joy to be among you in America. I was in New York because I started to be priest in New York for 6 months, just after my ordination. So I was this time staying in Queens among the Hindu temples, the Jain's temple. This world is great, you know. And we have to be open to this great world, you know. We have to understand, we have to. So they have widened my heart. And then also, they give you, I am wearing those glasses since the age of 5 years, I think. It's been a long time. But they have given me, through their questions, and also through their question on my tradition, because all of them, at the beginning I have been asking questions, you know, on the Vedas, on the Upanishad, but all of them after 2 years have said, you know, 2-3 years, Yann, now give us a Bible, you know, tell us about your tradition. I couldn't come, you know, with the Bible, take the Bible, because especially the mission, if I say I am a missionary, that is finished, you know, for them that is the worst that we can meet as a missionary, because he's here to destroy your culture. So there has been an exchange, but they also have given me, through their question, through their the way they are, because each tradition has also some very unique features, you know. I would say, as a Catholic, I would say, you know, nobody has gone so far in the exploration of the life, of the mental, of the spirit as a Buddhist. Actually, many of you are practicing yoga, you know. I mean, the question of yoga is, you know, how to overcome the mental, you know, and all the illusions that when the Buddha says the illusion as creating suffering, it is also the illusion of our mind, you know. And they have gone so far, you know. And so through their own perspective, they have given me new glasses also to see my own tradition, you know. Now, sometimes in a couple or in a friendship, the danger is to get used. I am used, so, okay, I know how you are, you know, and I am no more open to newness and a new discovery of who you are. And so this is why we need to be, sometimes the French language is good because we have words that we cannot translate. We need to leave our own country. We need to be in exile, you know. We need to, you know the parable, maybe some of you know the parable of in the gospel, a man has 2 sons, we call the prodigal son, you know. The prodigal son, he went very far away to a distant country, you know. But I think it's good to go to a distant country, you know, because finally something was missing. He discovers that in a new light, what he was having at the house of his father. So he has returned with new eyes to the house of his father. And so that is also the experience of living with them. And so they have widened my heart. As a Catholic priest, I mean, now unfortunately in the West, I don't know in America, but at least in France, I know that if I say Catholic, they imagine procession, Tridentine Mass, very narrow-minded, you know, and a lot of fear of everything in the world. Is it that Catholicism? It's not the Catholicism of the father of the church, the first theologians, you know, Gregory of Nyssa and Clement of Alexandria. They were open, and Saint Justin said, you know, Plato was one of us, you know, I mean, they were open, because we the Catholics and the Council Vatican II, we believe that the Spirit has worked in those religions, has given some treasures, and there is something in their tradition which also belongs to me. I mean, the truth is one, you know, the truth is one. And I need them. As a Catholic, because sometimes, you know, some Catholics said, and I do believe in my faith that Jesus is the truth. But the truth is not a glass that I possess like that, it's my truth, you know. We are not possessing the truth, we are possessed by the truth. And this is why, you know, it is good sometimes that the stranger, those who was far away from me, is the one who helped me to be more possessed by the truth. We need to take the risk of this adventure.
So that's your plug for studying abroad. You have a lot of opportunity to do that here at the College of St. Benedict and St. John's University, including a group that is going to India this winter semester for a couple of weeks, yes. And hopefully they'll be doing that again in the future.
Very great, yes.
Yes. I came across something that you wrote in a popular article saying that you discovered religious India through its music. And I know we have a lot of musically inclined folks here, folks who study liturgical music. So I'm wondering if you could say a bit more about how this discovery looks, but maybe even more appropriately, how does it sound, how does it feel when you encounter India through, and Hinduism through music?
As you understand, I mean, Hinduism is a religion, but it's a culture also. I mean, there is no separation. Even though the culture of India is, of course, wider than Hinduism and more plural than Hinduism. I think 1 month ago, the Pope Francis has written a text on literature saying that we need to read novels, you know, because reading novels, we understand better the heart, the human heart, you know. In India, I read novels to understand my people, you know, to know, to be helped to go deeper and deeper into these people, which has becoming my people, you know. And music, I don't know if you have heard some Hindustani music. Hindustani music, that is a tradition of North India, or Carnatic music, the tradition of South India. I mean, if you have been brought up with Beethoven, Bach, and Mozart, you will be totally, I mean, what is that, you know, I mean, at the beginning we lose, you know, I mean, we are totally lost in translation. I mean, it's totally new, you know, but that's very good to accept to be lost like that, because we need to go away, you know, we need to go through the distant country, as I was saying with the son of the prodigal son. And so, yes, the first experience for me, when I came in Varanasi, I said, I am too old now to learn to play the sitar or the tabla, but I will try to become what we call in Sanskrit or in Hindi, a rasika. A rasika is, we say, translated by a music lover. But the rasika comes from ras in Sanskrit, the taste. But rasa is not only the taste of a food, but rasa, you know, India has a very special aesthetic, you know. And there are different rasas, there are different tastes, there are different emotions. And ultimately, rasa in Sanskrit is a taste of the absolute. The absolute has a taste, it's like for the Sufi tradition, in the Sufi tradition, it is spoken about the cup of wine, inebriating wine. So ultimately, the absolute is an inebriating taste, And so to enter in the music, it is entering in a different culture, but there in India, I mean, the music is called in Sanskrit, we call that a sadhana, a spiritual exercise, as Ignatius of Loyola speaks of the spiritual exercises. So we learn not only a technique, I learn to play the sitar, to play the tabla, and there is no partitions. I mean, the great difference with the Western music, it is not written because a huge possibility is given for improvisation. I mean, more than 50% of the Indian music is improvisation, so it will be different always, So we learn not only a technique, but we are engaged in a spiritual journey. This is why that in India, we say that all the skills, the knowledge, from the academic knowledge to a spiritual knowledge to a music knowledge, aesthetic knowledge, it is received through a transmission from the guru, the master, to the shishya, to the disciple. It's a transmission, I mean, it's very sacred, a professor. I mean, we call it not a professor, but we call it a guru. It is very sacred, And so the guru not only helps the student to acquire a technique, but to be engaged in a spiritual journey. This is why, I mean, in India, in Varanasi, it's a great city for music, like Calcutta also. We have great concert. We are very blessed, not only by the coming of the sages of Hinduism, but of the great musician. But the most admired, and the biggest rush for a concert will be when the old musicians are coming. Maybe I think for the vocal, maybe the voice is not so good as it was maybe when she had 40 years old. But when you have 80 years old and you sing a raga, maybe the technique has some flaws. But at 80 years old, your spiritual journey is more advanced, And you are able, because the musician is a kind of priest, because he has to help the listener, the rasika, the music lover. The musician has to help the rasika, the music lover, to enter into this spiritual journey that the musician has undertaken, So this is why it's deeply religious, it's deeply religious. And it's beautiful, a religion, I think of Sikhism, I mean, when you go to a Gurudwara, if you go to Amritsar, to what we call the Golden Temple, it's so beautiful, all those kirtans, those songs coming, Religion, it's emotion, And we, Catholic tradition, we have that, I mean, the Gregorian tradition, So, and music, it's not only here, it goes straight here, yeah. So this is why I've been very blessed with the friendship of musicians of Varanasi, and I miss them.
We could all be friends with musicians. Yeah, wonderful. Just check the time here. Our clock is a little off in the in the back there. It's nearing midnight, according to that clock. You touched upon this in your presentation, your PowerPoint presentation, but there are some Christian critics who look at interreligious dialogue as maybe a misguided endeavor, failing to take seriously the great commission that Jesus gives to go and make disciples of all nations. And you also spoke about it as well, is that there might be folks in other religious traditions that look upon Christians' interest in religious dialogue in a kind of suspicious way, a desire, maybe a covert way of bringing about conversion. In your own work, how do you maintain this tension between a call for proclamation, but also the demands inherent in doing interreligious dialogue?
It's a very theological and it's a very Christian question, you know. But as we are in a Christian abbey, I have to answer to it. You know that in the wars, the first target are the bridges. We have to destroy the bridges. The bridges help people to go from one side to the other. We don't care of the bridges, except when he's destroyed and he's no more here. And it is sure that when we are engaged into this dialogue, which is an integral part of the Catholic Church, I mean, you can go back to the Council Vatican II, Nostra Aetate, the short declaration on religion, maybe the shortest text of the Council Vatican II, but the one who, after 60 years, got maybe one of the most impressive fortune, you know. I mean, it has influenced so much the church. So the dialogue is an activity of the Catholic Church. It's not something which is marginal or heretic, you know. Have you seen the Pope Francis those days? It's wonderful in Indonesia with the great Mufti. I mean, those beautiful images. He's kissing, the Pope is kissing the end of the Mufti, and the Mufti is kissing the head of the Pope. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful image and encouraging for us. You know, the great, what we call the Great Commission, at the end of the Gospel of Matthew, go to all the world and make disciples and baptize them. I think I will never baptize anybody in the sacred area of Varanasi. For many reasons. The reason that we have to understand also that in the West, because in the West, one of the supreme values is the I, the first person of the singular I. In India, we live in a world where we think as a we. I am a member of a group, of a caste. I was born in a caste. I will get married in that caste. I have to follow the rules and duty of that caste. Everything has been decided by the group. They live together, you know, I mean, now in Delhi, maybe they start to live alone, but an Indian living alone, even to, you know, thanks to God, with 1.4 billion people, they don't have everybody's their own personal car or own personal bedroom. Because that's how we will manage with 1.4 billion people, you know. But they're afraid to sleep alone. So they have this huge sense, you know, of the we, of the community. In the West, we have gone so far in the I and the solitude, the loneliness. I was wondering who has written this line you have quoted in your poster, you know. On the solitude, you know. I mean, I was in New York those days. I mean, I have heard a lot of this suffering of being alone, you know. And I think that as Catholics, we are combining the we and the I. The I as unique person. Every one of us is unique. We have only one life, or our course Catholic faith. And meanwhile, we are together. You know, we are not alone. You know, we are together. But I think for one of my friends, Brahmins, for example, if they first of all to ask for baptism, it's an act of saying, I am unique. I am the I. But it will be to break with all their family, with their cultures. They will be totally rejected, you know. They will be totally rejected. And there have been some cases, you know, some Pentecostal have come with the money from US or from Korea, and they say, take the money and we'll baptize you. And at the end of the day, they were rejected, you know, and misfit, you know. So we may say, okay, Father Yann, so leave it, you know, no need to go to Varanasi. I mean, go to Paris. There in France, there are no more Catholics. The churches are empty. What are you wasting your priesthood, you know? But then, you know, came two things. And we'll come back after on this question also of dialogue. the first things, the Catholic Church need the others, need to enter in dialogue with the others, because the treasure of the others are also treasures for me. And if I refuse that, and some Christians, they say, some Christians, not Catholics, even some Catholics are saying that, unfortunately, they say Hinduism is devil, there is nothing for us, it just has to be destroyed and convert, Jesus will save them, only Jesus will save them. But as a Catholic, I believe I have something to receive from them, so I need to be in link with them. Secondly, it is not because I am not going to baptize them that I have also the duty, the Great Commission, to be a witness of Jesus and of the newness of Jesus. And I have also understood the newness of Jesus. Yesterday I was speaking with Anantanand Rambachan, who is hosting me in Minnesota. He's a Hindu theologian. And he was saying, Yann, what I have discovered with the Christian is that the justice, we, our great gurus are giving their teaching, highly revered, and there is one untouchable, one Dalit, poor, at the door, nobody will take care of them, will let them. For a Catholic, it's unbearable, I cannot accept that. I have to fight for the justice, to make that civic engagement, to make a city where the dignity of everybody will be protected. We try, this is why Mother Teresa has been she has been highly revered in India by Hindus. She was a saint, we had the darshan, we had the manifestation of the divine in Mother Teresa. Meanwhile, she was spending her time with those who are the rubbish of the society. And if they are dying on the street, it is because in their former lives, they were very bad people, making bad karma, so they have been punished and they have been doomed to be a beggar on the street, So why Mother Teresa is spending this time? It was a huge shock for them. So we have to witness also this newness of Jesus. We have to, as I was saying, our friends, they said, you the Christians, you are the only one in that city to gather us. Yes, because we Christians, the newness, we believe in communion. We believe in communion, in exchange, We believe that we are not meant to be all the same, a unity in which we are all the same, but a unity of communion in which our differences are enriching the other. That is the mystery of the Trinity, that we believe Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We don't believe in one God who is above all, alone. We believe a God with a communion of love, And that I have to witness of this newness. And I think some of my Hindu friends, they won't become Christians, asking about baptism, but they are living of the newness of Jesus. They are living of the treasure of Jesus as I, Yann, a Catholic priest, live of the treasure of Hinduism. His challenge is living this emulation of sanctity. It is not that I am becoming Hindu. It is not to make a syncretism of everything, but being different, enriching each other, And ask Anantanand Rambachan, who is Jesus for him, for this Hindu theologian living in Minnesota, he will answer what he has received from Jesus. And I can also say what I have. So, it's beyond the question of baptism, how we give witness to Jesus. And then, since the beginning, the mission of the church, so we have forgotten because we imagine the mission, it's St. Paul going and St. Francis Xavier with the cross and baptizing. The life of Francis Xavier, he went to different countries. So in India, he was baptizing a lot. But when he went to Japan, he couldn't baptize. He was entering in a very challenging dialogue with the learned people from Japan. And if you look in the Bible, the mission of the community of St. John was more a witness, Of St. Peter, it was through the diaspora, St. Peter's Jewish diaspora, they were bringing those communities of Christians. So the mission is not only St. Paul going and even there is a St. Paul of the Acts of the Apostles, this kind of hero, and the St. Paul of the letters is different. So we have forgotten, and the mission of the church has to be adapted to the place where we go, you know. I mean, the mission of the church in the States, and there will be a lot of variation in the States, but it's different than to enter in the most sacred place of Varanasi, of India, you know, I mean, where respect, openness, patience is needed, you know, and conversion also. Because this emulation of sanctity, you know, when you see also, when you are witness of this holiness, this intensity of prayer, of quest of the absolute, then you said, you know, okay, I can't be a Catholic priest, I have the title, but what I live in truth, you know, where is my prayer, you know, where is my quest for, my love for Jesus, you know. So, I mean, the reality is more complex, and I think that is, since the beginning, that it has been the glory of the Catholic tradition to know that the reality is complex. It is not that or that, but it is that and that, you know. It is, we have to hold everything, you know. And yes.
We had a Sikh scholar, Rahul Deep Singh, come maybe 7-8 years ago. And one of the things I remember from his talk was that he was saying a lot of folks talk about building bridges, a lot of less folks are willing to cross that bridge. Mm-hmm. And so thank you so much for answering my questions this evening. I will open it up now to you all. We'll have a microphone here and a microphone here. We have about 15 minutes for questions, and so I encourage you, if you have one. As you can see, Father Yann is a very generous respondent to questions, and so I know he'd be happy to answer the questions that you have.
But after we have to be careful with the time, because there is a debate tonight.
That's right, yes, 7 o'clock. Father Yann is very much looking forward to catching that.
Professor Chris kind of asked the question that I wanted to ask, but I have a follow-up question. You know, many people believe that any path to God is as good as another. Can we Christians still say the way of Jesus is the best?
I don't know what are your religious affiliation, your belonging religious, to which tradition you belong. So I will answer as a Catholic. I always at the beginning surprised, and you know, for a Hindu, they say Hinduism is the roots of everything, you know. It's an image of a huge tree of banyans, and we say we are the first religion. Maybe, but they say we are the first, and all what has come after, so, Buddhism and Jainism came from Hinduism, and then they will say, okay, yeah, but Islam and Christianity are branches from this tree, but we are the root. Muslims, they will say Muhammad is a prophet, and he's the last prophet. There won't be any. Is the culmination of everything, you know. So that is their faith, you know. That is their faith. What they believe, what a Hindu believes, what a Muslim believes, and for me, as a Catholic, and that is what is behind my last book, An Emulation of Sanctity also. All those paths, those long desires, showing the incredible nobility of human people in their quest, thousands of years, so refined, so noble. It's a cause of joy, cause of deep teaching of what is to be human, Especially when you come from the West, when in the West we have forgotten this, that we are a window to transcendence, that human being is a window to transcendence. We have been deprived of that. It's kind of, many Westerners, when they come to Varanasi, they see the two taboos of their society, God and death. Because Varanasi is a city of death. We have the cremation grounds in Varanasi, so we see the reality of death. We see dead body. We feel the flesh of the dead body burning. Yes, we are mortal, we are fragile. And there is this glory of God, So I give thanks for all this nobility, I give thanks for this incredible work of the Spirit. But my faith, and I cannot explain that, but I still believe that the risen Christ, this Christ was been, first of all, so shocking, a God entering in our flesh, in the fragility of our human history, in this brokenness. A God dying on a cross. For a Hindu, he said, it doesn't look like a God, the gods are covered with gold and they have nice clothes, but that doesn't look like a God, he's, maybe he had a very, very bad karma in his previous life. He must have been terrible to have been doomed to such a death, So shocking, so shocking. But this, for me, my faith, and I come back to the beautiful frescoes of the Basilica of Rome, which I was contemplating when I was doing my studies there. The risen Christ, feeling everything in St. Paul, is a fullness of everything. And I do believe that is fulfilling all these desires. Yeah. That is my faith. I cannot explain you to convince you. I cannot convince you of that. But that is my faith. But it is not a faith, this risen Christ fulfilling all desires, embracing everything. That doesn't, it's not an humiliation saying the spiritual ways of the others is the devil, it's mistake, it's, no. And that was the faith of the great theologian of the church, Irenaeus of Lyon, one of the first theologians, 2nd century, the Christ recapitulating everything, And this is why I said my Hindu friend has made me more Catholic, because I was a very narrow Catholic in France. And apparently I am still in the Catholic faith, Till now I have no letters from Rome of heresy, With Pope Francis, I am quite sure I won't receive this kind of letters, yes. Because as my mother told me today on the phone, I got my mother said, "Oh, Yann, I have been reading the homilies of Pope Francis in Indonesia, but you are saying the same thing, about dialogue." I say, yeah, hopefully. No, yes, that is my faith, the fullness of Christ, which is not. Of course, I cannot accept everything of Hinduism. There is many things I was speaking of, the Dalits I was speaking. As a Christian, I cannot accept everything. But there is a lot for me, and to challenge. I think there is a beautiful surah in the Quran saying, Allah is saying, I have made you diverse so that you can give the best of, each of you can give the best of what you are, against this emulation of sanctity. thank you for your question.
We certainly have time for one more. All right, thank you.
So one of my friends
Hello.
currently is studying abroad in Argentina, obviously a very Catholic country, at least in culture. And in the group she's in, she's kind of like the Catholic, in that, you know, there's her and maybe a couple other those who grew up Catholic, but she's really the only practicing one there. And she's studying abroad with, you know, those of the Jewish faith, Muslims, and essentially a plurality of students there. And she mentioned how, like, being able to witness about her faith has been one of the greatest experiences of her life and simultaneously one of the most difficult. And particularly focusing on that latter point, I'm wondering just how, in those difficulties, especially when it can wear down the soul to consider, like, just, like, for example, how many of these bridges have been broken. In the face of that, how can we find refreshment and hope, either in experiences or in the friendships that we have?
To be, so the difficulties of witnessing, and then the renewal given.
So the renewal given
to your face. No, your question, I'm trying to just to get the very point of your question. So, I mean, in Argentina, she was also facing the difficulties of witnessing of her own faith in the face of other traditions. And as you know, I mean, a great difficulty in which we are going on is the other has so many, before you have spoken, you know, the other has so many ideas on you, you know. And ideas which are sometimes very cruel, you know. I mean, you know, for example, we see now today in our world there is a temptation to reduce Islam to a bunch of terrorists, you know. Or we could say also, I mean, we could say, often I have your question, you have not asked your question on the Hindu nationalists, you know. Yes. Yeah, I mean, then, of course, we have the Hindu nationalists, but Hinduism is not that. And always, you know, when we enter to the prejudices, and I said, and we Catholic, who we are? A religion of child abuse? And if we are reduced to that, I will feel very bad, you know. So, always, I mean, the point, you know, I would like to give, you know, to help you. Always we try to meet the other by the top, by the summit. We have to give credit to the best of a religion, you know. We have two eyes. So one is, of course, to see the disease, and we are sharing all the disease and all the same temptation, you know. I mean, the fundamentalist, all the same, you know. It's a defeat of intelligence, the fundamentalist. Intelligence, you know, the reason is out, dead, and there is not a single gram of mysticism. Okay? So we have eyes to see the disease. We are not naive. But we have to make credit of the best. Because the other with whom I will dialogue, with whom I will witness, the other sometimes also is broken, is humiliated. I mean, for many reasons, Hinduism is a religion which has been humiliated. How a religion, there are 80% in India, how they feel threatened by 13% of Muslim and 2% of Catholic. And it's an obsession of Modi and his friends, you know, the fundamentalists. But because they have been humiliated in the past, you know, there are so many wounds from the past. So we have to know also, when we are dealing in the dialogue, which are the humiliation, you know, of the other. And this is why we have to go step by step, and friendship, you know, time to adopt each other. Maybe you have remembered in Saint-Exupéry, the Little Prince, I have adopted you, it takes time, so that it takes time to adopt and to go beyond the prejudices, the wounds. And then after, to be a witness in another language, I remember in the month of March when they asked me, all doctoral students of the Hindu department of the Hindu University of Varanasi, to speak of Trinity. I said, I'm willing to speak you, okay, but at a certain point, make me a credit that we cannot explain everything with the head. Of course, the theology of Trinity, the church has put the best brain she had to work on this theology, and since the beginning of the church, But at a point, that this goes beyond our intelligence, what is this God in 3 persons, and he's fully one, but also every religion has a paradoxical aspect, So, it was not easy to speak of the Trinity, but I can use, thanks to God, also with, there are some experience like friendship, like love. When I love somebody, we are two and yet we become one, in communion. So there are some human experience by which we can help them to understand something of, speak of the Hindus here, we're speaking of the Trinity, so taking this example of love or friendship, which they make this experience, it's a very basic human experience, and helping them to, through this mysterious communion in which we are all one, that is the mystery of the Trinity, but we are babbling, we are like babies, and after, I would say, in the witness, of the witness of religion, always we are also battling with our own limitation, If I would be a holy man, a very saintly man, very transparent, maybe it would be easier. But I am the very unworthy witness of the very pure Jesus, and so I'm a very unsuitable instrument, and to say, it will be greater that what I can tell you, what I can witness you, it will be, and then maybe when something is transmitted, it's beyond my control, I do my part. That is very Catholic to think that I do my part, but the Spirit will supplement, and will help me to do the work, But yes, I understand this experience, it's a very experience of meeting a stranger, We have to learn his language, we have to learn each other our own language, and find a place of meeting, And it goes, most of the time, it goes also beyond our words or our ideas, It's a joy to be together, it's a joy to share our feast, how many feasts I have been sharing in Varanasi, it's a joy to be the confidant of the secret, And yes, for them, I think for my friends of Varanasi, a newness have come, a new friend coming from, not only from another country, but from a tradition they were not knowing. So, like that, that would be, and I understand the experience in Argentina. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Father Yann. I have just 2 quick announcements, and then we'll give Father Yann a proper thanks. First announcement is, as you exit, there is a QR code that you can scan to get on our email list. I promise I will not spam you if you do share your email. I can also promise that if you do enter your email, you'll be in a prize running for one of 3 copies of Father Yann's A Priest in Benares. So if you're interested in getting a free book, interested in learning more about what's happening with the J. Phillips Center for Interfaith Learning, please feel free to scan the QR code. Second, the J. Phillips Center is sponsoring an event this Friday here in Quad 264 at 1 p.m. Professor Kingshuk Mukherjee has invited the Calcutta-based artist Prithviraj Chowdhury to come and speak with us on Hindu mythology and the ways in which he depicts that through his vibrant modern art. So that's this Friday here, 1 p.m. to about 3 p.m. There'll be an artist showcase of Chowdhury's work, and so you all are invited to that. And I think it was the Benedictine monk, Brother David Stindl Rast, who upon meeting the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh said, "I knew he was a contemplative when I saw him shut the door." Mm-hmm. And I've only been with Father Yann for about 3 or so hours today. We had lunch, we've had some conversation, but I think I now appreciate and understand that quote much better. Father Yann, the work that you are doing aligns so well with the mission of the J. Phillips Center, yes, of promoting dialogue, of understanding, of friendship and civic engagement. We are so grateful to have you with us here. I wish you all the blessings on your time in Minnesota. I am jealous of your trip to Boston to go see some of my own teachers, and I wish that you'll send them my best. And of course, we wish you all the best in your work back in Varanasi and Kathmandu. Please join me in thanking Father Yann for his time.
Thanks to all of you for your presence, for your patience to listen my highly French English, and I'm very happy to have been with you today and that we have been able to build a bridge between Varanasi and your holy place here, St. John University. Thank you. Thanks a lot.